So before I get into it, true or false? Best team in the Sun Belt Conference right here.
Yes, honestly, I think they're the best team. They have the best returning player in the conference. They literally have the Sun Belt preseason player of the year on their team. So I don't know about you. When I looked through these 4 teams, 3 of them I felt pretty good about pretty quickly. And then the last team we're going to do, or the middle team we're going to do, I was very curious about. But now I feel really good about my stance on all 4 of these teams. I think the Sun Belt
I don't know what to think
clear.
about Georgia. I don't know what to think about Georgia Southern. But I like
they're the biggest toss-up of the 4, definitely.
All right, so Appalachian State, let's get into it. We got Sean Clark coming back for his 5th full season as head coach, and his tenure's been pretty good. I feel like it's overshadowed because he had such insanely big shoes to fill. I mean, keep in mind, Sean Clark took this job coming off Scott Satterfield and Eli Drinkowitz. Mm-hmm. That's who he followed. And in the 5 seasons before Sean Clark took this job, Appalachian State went 54-12 and won 5 straight bowl games. So, yeah, I mean, I guess if you look at his tenure over the last 4 seasons, you could be like, oh, Appalachian State's taken a step backwards. But they've been pretty good. He's done a fine job. It's just he had to follow Scott Satterfield and Eli Drinkowitz. It's tough. Those are big shoes to fill. In Sean Clark's tenure, they've made it to 3 bowl games in the 4 seasons he's been there. They've won 2 of them. So Sean Clark's solid in my book.
Yeah, I agree. He kind of took a program that was becoming kind of what we look at Liberty at this year, kind of like a top-tier program where a few years ago, if there was a 12-team playoff, they probably would have been one of the teams considered every single year.
And he kind of definitely.
Yeah, and he definitely just kind of carried that off. They've played some sick games against Power 5s recently. They had like a 63-61 game against UNC a few years ago. Like, they are a team that no Power 5 wants to play, and there is a Power 5 team they're going to play this year. That's very difficult, and this is a program that's one of the best group of 5 for a reason. So.
All right, so let's get into it. They get Joey Aguilar back at quarterback, and that's who Andy was referring to as the preseason Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year, or the prediction of who's going to be. And it's kind of hard to argue with that. He was good as shit last year. And the thing about the Sun Belt Conference is quarterbacks. We're strictly talking quarterbacks here. It's extremely top heavy. There's actually 4 good quarterbacks in this conference, but then after that, so you got Aguilar here at Appalachian State, who probably might be the best. I mean, that kid at Texas State's also a beast. Yeah. Then you got Arkansas State he won true freshman of the year in the conference. So Arkansas State's bringing back a true sophomore at quarterback who should be good. And then you got Dylan Morris, the kid from Washington that was behind Penix last year. He's at James Madison. Who is the 5th best quarterback in this conference? Because it's like the kid from Coastal, Vasco?
Yeah, Vasco is probably the option there.
Yeah, so there's such a
takes a steep drop off.
Yeah, so you got 4 good quarterbacks, and not even like, oh, they're pretty good for the Sun Belt. Like, no, these should be 4 good Sun Belt quarterbacks, but then there's a drop off when you get to number 5. So right off the bat, Appalachian State, not only one of the best teams in the conference, but there are one of the 4 teams that has a quarterback, which you know is going to come in handy late in the season. So you got Joey Aguilar back at quarterback. Let's see. Here it gets even better than that. The top 4 wide receivers are back for Appalachian State. The top 4 wide receivers. So you're bringing back your quarterback, who's projected to be first team all conference, and all 4 of his top receivers. Great start for Appalachian State. I will say, I'm a little worried about the offensive line.
Yeah, definitely.
They lost 4 out of 5 starters on the offensive line, but they did bring in a kid named Thomas Schrader from Florida State. He was a 3-star recruit. He played in 16 games for Florida State, including 11 of them on last year's undefeated team. I don't think he started. I think he played. But this is a 3-star recruit from Florida State. So they did lose 4 starters, but they brought in a kid that is probably better than any of the starters they lost last year. So they did bring in a really nice piece on the offensive line, but as a whole, the offensive line is decimated. So that's going to be a question. Can they keep Aguilar protected? That's going to be the question on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side, I mean, that kid, Nate Johnson, is a monster. 7.5 sacks last year as a true freshman. He's 6'5". I mean, this is potentially an NFL kid on the edge, rushing for Appalachian State. 7.5 sacks as a true freshman. So he's going to be one of the better players. In fact, I think Phil Steele wrote potentially best defensive player in the conference.
Yeah, he'll do that. He'll throw his like little notes. I think he did that for Schrader too, or somebody did that for Schrader, the O lineman that they got. He's gonna probably be predicted as one of the best linemen in the Sun Belt. So like they added the players that they added along with that group that's coming back on offense. Like I love it. I thought they did. I think their offense is going to be exactly what it's been every other year. They're going to be really good. They have the best. I think probably the second best quarterback in the conference. So yeah, they're going to be good there.
So Appalachian State, all thumbs up all across the board for me, except there's one thing. I'm a little worried about the secondary. They lost their top two defensive backs. And the reason that now normally the top two defensive backs, whatever, but I don't like how the secondary is the weakest part of this team, or at least is looking like it's going to be the weakest part of this team, because we just talked about how this conference is quarterback top heavy, which means late in the season in the conference championship game, potentially they're most likely going to have to beat one of these teams that has a quarterback, and having the secondary as their weakness is definitely not what you want. So I don't like that. But let's go ahead and bring up the schedule for App State.
Yeah, I think this team will probably have like a role reversal. You look at their numbers, and their run defense was really bad last year. Their pass defense is really good. I think it could be the complete opposite. I think Farmer coming in from Syracuse, he was a power 4 player, so obviously he's a good pickup. But they didn't really do outside of that. A low-graded corner came in, so like they didn't do a ton at adding on defense. But if the roles reversed, I wouldn't be surprised. Which, like you said, it probably won't hurt them in some of their other games, but in terms of winning this conference, that could be the death of their secondary.
Yeah, because when I first looked at it, I was like, oh, I might bet Appalachian State to win the conference at plus 275, but it's going to be tough because they're going to have to play most likely Texas State or it's someone with a quarterback in that conference championship game. So let's go ahead and pull up the schedule. And obviously we're starting off with a win with East Tennessee State. At Clemson, loss. At ECU is tough. That team always is tough to beat on the road. Obviously, we know Appalachian State is the far superior team. ECU plays tough at home, but I think I'll give them a win there.
Yeah, they should win that one.
But ECU at home is no joke. I mean, they almost beat NC State at home. This is a good home team.
Yeah, and they're bringing their quarterback back. So ECU will be kind of an average team, but I would still probably take App State in that one.
So let's give them a win. That's 2 wins. South Alabama, I haven't looked at them yet.
They should win that one. They should
beat
South.
3. Liberty's a loss.
Yeah, I told you the other day that I do think it'll be tough for Liberty, but I'd still give Liberty the game.
Yep.
Especially being in
That's 3. At Marshall, win.
Yeah.
At Louisiana, I know some people are probably counting that as a loss. I think they can win that game.
Yeah, they're a team with the same coaching staff, a veteran quarterback. I don't think road atmospheres, except for Clemson, are really going to affect this team too much.
Yeah. So that puts us at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins. Home versus Georgia State win.
Yeah, they're going to win that one.
6. Home versus Old Dominion win. That's 7.
I think they lose to Coastal.
Dude, no, they don't.
I think they lose to Coastal. I would yell toss up there on that one. That's all right.
How about this? Well. They'll drop at Coastal or at Louisiana. They'll drop one of
those two. I would give them a loss on.
Home James Madison, I think they win.
Yeah, James Madison's going to take a pretty steep step back this year.
That puts us at 8, and then Georgia Southern puts us at 9. Yeah. Over 8, baby. Over 8. Is this at 8.5 now, Andy?
It was whenever I made these like 3 days ago, so it might have gone down.
Oh, okay, yeah. I thought
I've been doing I did a whole chunk on Thursday. So.
Yeah, I like them to finish at 9 with a potentially 10 because I think they could win. Yeah. I think they could beat Coastal and win both of those road games that we talked about. So I think they land on 10, 9 or 10. So over 8.5.